to maintain their children and wives. We should not rest for as long as women continue to be beaten and abused by their husbands. And we should never rest for as long as the rape and mutilation of women continue. I thank you. Baie dankie.
Baie dankie. Ons waardeer dit. We will now go back to KwaZulu-Natal, but I just want to make an appeal to the speakers that come afterwards. We are making an appeal to everyone that we want a progress report. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the speakers that come afterwards. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to make an appeal to the provinces so that we can engage. Don't necessarily translate into everyone. We want to hear progress. We will now go back. We don't want to hear about plans, but I just want to
now, Chair, I think you played on us earlier on saying you want to hear progress of what has been done. Let me just articulate what the progress has been done. With the intervention, we've ensured that we institutionalize the NSP gender-based violence femicide. We know that last day it was approved and launched by the President. Subsequent to that, our province, under the leadership of the Premier, also launched it in July last year. So as the province, we acknowledge that the women have been impacted by COVID-19, and therefore we are prioritizing the protection of women's rights. The newly stabilized, fully functional provincial interdepartmental task team chaired by the Premier is to ensure that the address gender-based violence and femicide has made a massive progress to date. The team is led by the Premier, Dr. Zamani Sol, as a coordinator, And also the other members as MEC for Department of Transport, Safety and Liaison, and the MEC as a convener of that. The MEC for Department of Social Development, the MEC of Health, the MEC for Education. The Office of the Status of Women provides a secretarial service to that task team. The team has developed a gender-based violence femicide action plan, which is called for government and civil society business sector to work together to ensure that there's a coordination and manner in which it eradicates South African society and its case. The plan is aligned to the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence Femicide 2020-2030. Chairperson. Madam Chair, the Premier, Dr. Zamani Sol, is confident that the implementation of the gender-based violence femicide plan will be ensured that it express its findings expression in the district development model to our local municipality. Thus, the process of joint and collaborative planning to ensure that we undertaken by the local government. The district level will also have three spheres of government, resulting in the single strategy focus one plan for service delivery. Chairperson, this is precisely because of gender-based violence femicide plan is tandem with the district development model of the government, where it seeks to work with citizens and groups within the community to find sustainable ways to meet their social, economic, material needs and improve the quality of their lives. The Premier believes that the monitoring and evaluation of this plan is critical in ensuring that it meets an intended objective. In this regards, the Office of the Premier, through monitoring evaluation unit, will be responsible for monitoring and implementation of the plan to evaluate this impact. Through the monitoring and evaluation unit, civil society will also be engaged to participate and envisage the citizen-based monitoring approach of government. The Commission of Gender Equality will also play a critical role in continuing monitoring and evaluation of the program in collaboration with the Office of the Premier, and so that it fulfills its role in promoting gender equality, advance and make a recommendation to the Parliament or any other legislature within regards to any laws and propose legislative affecting gender equality and status of women. Madam Chair, the province will also has far managed to make mass mobilization for program to train and deploy activists to all municipalities in our province, which has been about 118 volunteers trained to render advocacy, awareness, support services to victims and potential perpetrators. The community radio station in the province has been used as a key to ensure that it's one of the medium platforms reaching out to our community to empower them with regards to gender-based violence and femicide. With the assistance of the social workers, have been massive establishment of support groups for victims to afford them an opportunity to share experience and to learn coping mechanism for each of them to aim at promoting holistic healing. Chairperson, as I can also report to the House that the province, we have registered progress in providing adequate care, support, healing for victims of gender-based violence, have rendering services such as psychosocial support, victims empowerment, and second one, social behavior change program, advocacy, awareness, and support victims to court and pre and post-court appearance. 8 safe houses have been established in our province. We know that some of our districts didn't have safe houses. So now they have been established and use the resources related to constraints. Tutuzela Care Centers is operational in the areas Kimberley, Kruman, DR, and Springbok. 16 social workers have been allocated to district to ensure that as a province, we render gender-based services to our community. We are at the advanced stage in the establishment of multi-sectoral coordination of accountability structure that will be able to be responsible for the survivor focus and well-resourced provincial response gender-based violence femicide that is encompassed with prevention, care, and support of victims. However, the survivor gender-based violence chairperson have access to the support and services, including gender-based violence in hotlines, shelters, and center providing support to victims of sexual offenses. Now, when coming to the creating of creating gender sensitivity labor absorbing employment and opportunity of women through SME chairperson, I can report to the House Chair that women are absolutely affected by the economic fallout of the COVID-19. This is a result of a loss of life, job losses, as well as the weak economy ever. We, as a province, we know it resulted that in the lockdown instituted about a loss of 80,500 jobs been lost last year at the last quarter, and about 50,000 jobs have been created by the province to ensure that we respond to those job losses this year in the 2021, first quarter of 2021. So we work very hard to ensure that we recover those job losses in that. In response to the impact of COVID-19, the province developed a Northern Cape Economic Recovery and Reconstruction Plan. The plan is aligned to the national plan, which sets out the intervention that aim at resuscitating the economy while creating the much needed jobs and addressing social impact of the COVID-19. Chairperson, the above mentioned economic recovery plan will see a gender equality and economic inclusion of women in the following manner. The support of 10 cooperatives, which is led by women, about 52 women through the women empowerment programs of where the production of mask is then going to be rolled out by them. And about 16 women-owned business will receive ITC skills training at the M Lab in Khalishu over the period of 12 months. About 33 young women will be funded through DSEC for the period of 12 months, ensuring that they get a stipend of 2,145. About 200 young women's skills will be benefiting through the Ambassador Digital Skills Program for the value of 4.3 million. The support of the recovery and growth of the tourism and cultural and creative industry women will be benefiting as follows. Social relief phase 2 will be provided funds amounting to 4.3 million and sports federation in our province, and about 1,000 vouchers of it will be issued with amount of 7,000 to those women who have of the local artists. The tourism infrastructure programs also will create job opportunities, about 50 for women, and tourism project will also be able to ensure that about 45 job opportunities for women will be created. Chairperson, what mentioned about project, the provincial government is advocating for women to be able to be central part of the efforts to build back better. We are working hard to see to it that the social security net being increased to protect vulnerable families, especially women and children, from the economic impact in the pandemic. We will continue to ensure that measures to protect, stimulate an economy is targeted at women. As the province, we promote the gender equality, women empowerment, and central to the effort of combat poverty and stimulate sustainable development. Chairperson, as I conclude, the province, we are guided by South African National Policy Framework of Women Empowerment and Gender Equality, Chairperson, into ensuring that the process of achieving gender equality is the epicenter of transformation, will be ensuring all the structures and institution policies, procedure, practice programs in our government, now presenting in our province in all spheres of provincial programs and local programs, have to ensure that they provide the lead. Ke rata go tsa tšhone moradisi ke lebogela gore le ile nna Kapa Bokone tšhone ya gone gore kgone go atlhatlha e ntshe gone gore ba tswetse pele ka go ntshetsa thabollo ya bomme mo Kapa Bokone. Ke a leboga.
Honourable members, our apologies.
Recording stopped.
We lost connection with the National Assembly. We are reconnecting. Apologies, just for a second, we are sorting it out.
Recording in progress.
Can I just test whether we are back?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Just apologies, the National Assembly was cut off from the virtual platform. So unfortunately, we didn't hear the last speaker conclude her remarks. She's got 1 minute left. So may I request then the Northern Province just to recap the last minute of their input, because unfortunately, all of us here in the National Assembly didn't hear the last bit. So can we just ask the Northern Cape to sum up for us in 2 minutes? Apologies.
I'm not sure where should I start wrapping up to avoid going beyond 1 minute.
Please just use 2 minutes. So just if you can use the last 2 minutes of your speech, we were cut off there.
Okay. I think I'll reiterate on the issue of the economic recovery. Basically, those are the ones that I suspect that the committee didn't get it. My wanted to say around the issue of the creating gender-sensitive labor absorbing employment opportunity for women through SMMEs in our province. Chairperson, we as a province, we recognize that that women has been affected adversely by economic fallout and COVID-19. This resulted in the loss of life, loss of jobs and wealth, as well as a weakest economy ever. With lockdown being instituted, the province lost about 80,500 jobs in the second quarter of last year. However, about 58,000 jobs have been created by the province between the third quarter of last year and the first quarter of 2021. And let's say we have worked very hard to ensure respond to the job losses. In the province, the impact of COVID-19 developed the Northern Cape Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. The plan is aligned to the national plan, which sets out the intervention that is aimed at resuscitating the economy while creating the much needed jobs and addressing social impact of COVID-19. Chairperson, the above mentioned economic recovery plan will be ensuring that we see women equality, gender equality, and economic inclusion of women in the following manner. About 10 cooperatives, which is about 52 women through women empowerment programs. Those will be able to ensure that they create and production of the mask. Chairperson, the other one, 16 women-owned business will also receive ITC skills training at the MWEP in Kimberley in Khalishiwe for the period of 12 months. And then the 3 young women will also be funded through their SEC for the period of 12 months in receiving the stipend. And about 200 young women will also benefit to the Youth Ambassador Digital Skills Program for the value of 4.3 million chair. And then the support of the recovery and growth in the tourism, cultural, and creative industry, women will benefit as follows. Social relief phase 2 will also provide about 43 million in the Women Sports Federation as an individual in our province. About 1,000 vouchers with amount of 7,000 will be issued to women through the support of our Solidarity Fund. And the tourism infrastructure project will create 50 jobs for women, and tourism project for the total of 9.5 million create 45 job opportunities. Chair, with the mention about project, the provincial government is advocating for women to be central part at the effort of building back the better future. We will also be working hard to see that the social security net is being increased to protect vulnerable families, especially women and children, to the economic impact of the pandemic. We will also continue to ensure that we measure and protect and stimulate the economy to target, which is targeted at women. As the province, we promote of gender equality and women empowerment and central at the efforts of combating poverty and stimulate sustainable development. Chairperson, this is what we like to take this opportunity as a Northern Cape, that we are guided by South African National Policy Framework for Women Empowerment and Gender Equality. And we have to ensure that the process of achieving gender equality is epicenter of all our programs in our province. We like to take this opportunity that we table the report as the progress that we have achieved as a province. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the Northern Cape, and apologies once more that we had to ask you to restart. We really appreciate your presentation and the inputs made, and continue the good work that you are doing there in your province. May I then ask, I believe that we are now moving to the Western Cape, if we can call on the Honourable Beverly Schaefer.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, Speaker of the National Assembly, Honourable Members, good afternoon. The United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is really a stark reminder that countries must deliver on goals 5 and 16, specifically to achieve gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls, and to promote peaceful and inclusive societies, which include responsive, participatory, and decision-making at all levels of a society. The latest global ranking, as reported by the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, shows that only 4 countries in the world have 50% or more women parliamentarians: Rwanda, Cuba, Bolivia, and the UAE. It is within this context that I believe we must begin in order to have a more equal society, where basic human rights and the dignity of women are realized. The role of parliaments across the world is to oversee how policies and budgets are allocated in order to achieve justice across gender lines. We as parliamentarians and legislators cannot be paying lip service to gender equality when we cannot ascertain how our own budgets and programs are measured specifically. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association has proposed gender-responsive budgeting as a method for addressing the gender gap which persists in most countries and result in women suffering economic exclusion and enjoying fewer rights than men. Gender-responsive budgeting practices have been incorporated in a number of international and regional agreements, such as the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and the African Union Agenda of 2063, which has established an international normative framework which sets goals for women's economic empowerment and the attainment of equal rights. Countries which are signatory to these agreements, therefore, have a legal mandate to implement aspects of gender-responsive budgeting in their budgeting and planning processes. Research has shown that a gender-responsive budget results in much more equality across gender lines, including boy and girl children, and not just for women. It proposes including analysis of women in their social context into government budgeting and planning instruments so that programs aimed at improving women's circumstances can be appropriately designed and targeted. This includes programs that not only direct resources towards women's economic empowerment, but targeted approaches to lightening the burden of unpaid care work on women and to help combat discriminatory cultural practices that prevents women from exercising their rights and realizing their full potential. Gender-responsive budgeting is therefore more than merely increasing the budget for women's empowerment and gender equality priorities, but it requires gender-responsive review of policies, legislation, and financial planning instruments. It should therefore ideally be accompanied by a complementary monitoring and evaluation framework. This in turn requires that government departments and institutions report quality gendered disaggregated data to inform these oversight practices. South Africa was once a leader in gender-responsive budgeting back in the 1990s, being the third country in the world to adopt gender-responsive budgets. These early efforts were, however, short-lived and not succeeded by a comprehensive gender-responsive budget policy, albeit until recently. Although a framework was approved by Cabinet in 2019 to relook at legislation, nothing really has changed. In the latest medium-term strategic framework, there remains poor inclusion of gender priorities and a continued lack of gender disaggregated data. An analysis of the South African 2014 to 2019 medium-term strategic framework reveals that only 7% of all indicators is explicitly mentioned in gender. We as parliamentarians need to understand that gender disaggregated reporting on government program indicators is necessary for successful gender responsive budgets. South Africa has not prioritized narrowing the country's gender gap in recent years, as evidenced by the country's outdated policies, our under-resourcing gender machinery, and our lack of gender priorities included in key budgeting and performance plans. Chair, the Western Cape Provincial Parliament is beginning to look at becoming the first gender sensitized parliament in South Africa. Without this step, we cannot initiate gender-based budgets that are crucial to ensuring a more equal society. It's time for us as parliamentarians to really act and institute change from within. I thank you.
We thank the Western Cape for their input. I think we wholeheartedly agree with you that we need more emphasis on gender responsive budgets. It shouldn't just be that we speak about these interventions on paper, and that more work needs to be done, especially from us as parliamentarians. I would like to go to the presenter from SALGA, the Deputy President of SALGA, if they are online on the virtual platform. Over to you. Is SALGA with us? And can I just check quickly on the other provinces as well? Do we have the presenter from KwaZulu-Natal available at this stage? Okay, I just want to do a final check. So we are looking for KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and SALGA. If any of their presenters or representatives are available.
SALGA is here.
Thank you so much. Over to you. Thank you. Your 10 minutes will start now.
Thank you very much, Program Director. This is Councillor Flora Mabua Boltman, the chairperson of SALGA Women's Commission. Greetings to all of you. We were having a seminar. We just finished. So greetings to all that is in here. Let me take the opportunity to follow the protocols and say to me, the Honorable Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Ms. Sylvia Lucas, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the new Speaker that we congratulate for her position as the Speaker, Menosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Tsenodi, the Minister, the Deputy Ministers, Deputy Ministers, House Chairpersons, Premiers, and MECs from all provinces, the Multi-Party Women's Caucus Chairperson in the National Assembly, the Legislature and Municipalities, the Acting Chief Justice, political party leaders, honorable councillors who are logged in this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me extend my wishes for a happy Women's Month to all of the women and girls of the country. On this, the year of Charlotte Manie Maxeke, celebrating 150 years of her birth, a very remarkable leader of our time who broke the barriers of access to education for women and became the first woman graduate. My heart is heavy as we yet again during the Women's Month had our hearts ripped open as news of the gruesome murder of Nostelo Mtembeni spread on the news. With all the hopes she and her family and society had dashed. This is as we remember the gruesome murder of omnye wethu ohambile naye uInene Mkhwetshane 2 years ago, and many other young women, girls and elderly women who perished at the hands of their husbands or their men or their spouses. The emergency response action plan needs to be accelerated and be more focused on proactive measures to prevent gender-based violence and femicide. The theme I have been given a chairperson to speak on is advancing inclusive growth and precepts of a capable developmental state through the district development model, and the IDP is well appreciated. A developmental local government aims at increasing and accelerating economic growth and employment and achieving a more equitable distribution of development. The policies and strategies followed by municipalities are considered additional and complementary to national economic growth and development goals. Local government chairperson is at the core of attending the needs of communities as they find expression at this space. As a united voice, women in this space have an opportunity to coordinate and influence the desired change in legislation and its implementation. The current practice on war rooms led by the ward councillors coordinating the sector departments into the ward programs, accelerated to the local mayors' AGR forums, build perfectly into the DDM. The district development model is the main coordinating mechanism in the pooling of resources. I'm talking about human and financial resources into local government sphere, with the provincial and national spheres to implement the program aimed at advancing inclusive growth and development for greater impact. The empowering women leaders in local government is a priority as part of the 50% women representation to ensure that they will influence the implementation of the laws and policies supporting women representation, participation, and monitoring the work done. The following, chairperson, are women and gender structures in municipalities, and I'm going to list them or mention them as I listed them. We have the special program unit in the office of the executive mayors and mayors, which they foster social inclusion by ensuring that vulnerable groups participate in the affairs of the municipality and their voice is heard. The Women's Forum are part of this and established in all municipalities. This is a structure that represents women from a variety of women-led community organizations with diverse interests. They are a key stakeholder representing the voice of women in local government and are tasked to cause the municipality to account on gender mainstreaming in planning and budgeting. The Women's Forum is a stakeholder of the Mayor's Integrated Development Plan. That is the responsive forum, in the responsive forum, the ITP rep forum. It is expected that Women's Forum spread itself into focal areas on the municipality, like the local economic development, contractor development programs, supply chain management processes, climate change adaptation strategies, and interventions, employment equity targets, achievements, women representation in political leadership positions, access to resources to run women programs in communities, and many interests of women. The question, Chairperson, is, are these structures capacitated to carry out the critical tasks that is indicated above? In here, do they understand and pursue the gender agenda in this critical space? The answer, Chairperson, will be a no, and then it will also be a yes, because we need to be practical. If we say a yes, we are saying a yes because where these structures exist and have proper constituencies with mandate seeking and accountability processes, they carry out their duties. When they are empowered and capacitated, work gets done. And I want to say SALGA conducts continuous capacity building programs for councillors and officials leading the SPU. So they provide support to the Women's Forum. We say yes because adequate planning and resourcing of the structures programs in the IDP and SDBIP is also done. Vibrant engagements and involvement in the programs of the municipality in the interest of women is done. Ability to understand legislation on gender issues, formulate policies, and influence their implementation. Advocates against the gender-based violence and femicide and runs programs to curb the scourge and intervene in support of the victims as full participants in local space, district and metros emergency response actions. The Women's Forum represents women in district and legislature-led women's parliament and outreach programs. Through these structures, municipalities are able to run the campaigns in communities. They participate in partnership programs. We are like participating with SAWID, as SALGA is focused on building capacity of the structures on a continuous basis on mainstreaming and overseeing the gender budgeting and planning. On the no side, we are saying no because often the election of these structures is not influenced by the existence and activism of the various formations in the wards. And the mandating and accountability mechanisms do not reach the ordinary women in wards. And in most cases, and we struggle there, and we would like to plead with women so that we go to these rural areas. We mustn't choose places where our cars will drive nice and come back home nicely, but we must reach out because those women, they need us as well. They become ceremonial attendees in municipal programs, and that is where we say there is a no. And in there, we are looking at I'm going to mention the three bullets here that they need to be capacitated on gender activism and understanding of their role. That if they can get that, we will change the no to a yes. The programs they lead are once-off shows. So it's sort of stifling them, or they are event-driven for that matter. Or we need to mark the register that now it's August and we have activities, mama, and we need mamas to be seen, so it's really not fruitful. If the programs do not find expression and meaning in the municipality plans, it will be difficult for women to push for their item because we need the budget for that. The second women formation is the SALGA Women's Commission, the SWC, which exists. We just had finished our seminar now a few minutes ago. SALGA exists to coordinate, to promote, and to advocate for gender appropriate strategies and practices within member municipalities. And we feed into national, regional, and global agenda and processes. I don't want to get into too much into the SALGA one, but let me get to this, that through the SWC, the Multi-Party Women's Caucus, which is now at the locals, the MPWC, are formed in municipalities, and they are led by councillors as Section 79 committees on a part-time basis. We do not like it to be part-time because there are a lot of issues. So it will be nice if they can be mainstreamed into the full-time position, but we will see. We are campaigning towards that, and we resolved in this seminar that it should be full-time. The majority of municipalities have recognized multi-party women caucuses in terms of Section 59, Municipal Structures Act 32 of 2000. In some cases, concurrence has not been received.
You need to wrap up, Councillor. You've got 1 minute left.
Okay, so we need to get into that. Sorry, I got. Now we have confidence that the leaders that emerge out of our next election, they will be assisted as we are having a training or with the University of Cape Town, the Nelson Mandela and Zinande Institute in leadership. We are now getting women to be trained in emotional intelligence and leading in the public sector, and about ethical leadership and innovation practices for the public sector and people-orientated leadership in the public sector. I believe by doing so, we are putting more into the development and empowerment of women. I will send the notes because there is more that I did not say, but thank you very much for this. We will support the Women's Charter, we will campaign, we will vigorously do it, and we will support all the initiatives that wants to elevate the empowerment of women in the place. Ngiyabonga, ndiyabulela, mandla, malibongwe.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu. I think we have now concluded all the provinces. I don't think the other provinces, KwaZulu-Natal, Northwest, and Mpumalanga are with us. So I think now we will open the floor for comments and questions. I think I will start on this side. If you can just raise your hand, I'll give you numbers, and then I'll move over to this side and onto the virtual platform. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question? 1, 2, no, you want to be 2, okay. Number 1, yes, 1, 2, 3, Honorable Sukas, 4, 5, anybody from this side? 6, 7, and 8. Okay, we'll leave it for that. I hope you've taken down your numbers. Can we start with you, ma'am? Number 1, please. Please just turn on your, just get closer to a microphone, please, so that we can. Thank you, Ma. Can we just be assisted with the microphones? It looks like the, okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Tombi, chairperson of Dawn at Gunya. I would like to refer to GBV, a program that you are talking about. I mean, this is a very sensitive thing that you are talking. I want to refer to Minister, who's her name? Mapisa Ngakula. Yes. Oh, Colonel Betuna. This morning, so but anyway, I would also want to do you Yeah, and Monica could I said when we are talking about the GBV, it's something else. That's why I just want to refer to Minister Mapisa Ngakula. It's not only the women's or children that are affected with this, also the men. Also abused with women's. We can't run away on that. Also, I just want to go to the Eastern Cape to Komoni, because there's a woman there who was put the child on a toilet in Eastern Cape. I didn't hear she speak with that. And the child is out of hospital or in, I'm not sure. So that woman, as we DA, we don't want her to be out of jail. We want also her to rot in jail, as she done like a man. Am I wrong, guys? If I'm wrong, said so. If I'm right, you said I'm right. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Also, when the national government can put more money in Gauteng, I'm just plea for that. Can't also put more budget here in Cape Town, in Western Province. I've got the reason why I'm saying that. Make an example, like a health department is suffering a lot, more especially in our areas, our clinics. We need to build those clinics, we need to do everything, but the budget is not enough for us. Sorry to say that, but I must have to, you must have to look at those budgets. As Beverly Schaefer said so, we need more, really we need more budget. Also, to Minister Mwanapole from Northern Cape. She's telling us about the people who has lost their job according of COVID. My question is to her, is there any provision for those people who loses their jobs? We want to know, because those people now are suffering, they don't get anything at the moment. So I must have to stop there.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you.
Can we go to number 2, please?
Yes, good day. I'll introduce myself for those people who came in late. I am Dr. Arlene Adams, and I am also the interim Dawn Federal Leader, and I am a councillor in the city of Cape Town. And I'm listening to all the presentations, and well done to all the provinces. I think the intentions are great. The progress have been absolutely fantastic. But I want to note, and we spoke a lot about gender-based violence and femicide, and I want to say that we treat gender-based violence and femicide and the poverty of women as if it is not part of a capable or an incapable state. And frankly speaking, let's call a spade, that our women are experiencing the social fragmentations, the economic disappointments, and the criminal justice system that is doing very little to assist our women. And frankly speaking, the incapable or the capable state is failing our women dismally. The UN says that a wealthier and a healthier country is a country who respects, who includes, who honors, and women to form part of decision-making in a capable state. The longer we as women are marginalized and suppressed and oppressed and killed, the longer our children and our communities will suffer the psychological effects. And let's call a spade, because we are going into the local government elections. And how can we be proud of ourselves when corruption is taking away from the services of women? When our health services, for example, in the Eastern Cape is failing, how many women can actually get health services? We're talking about joblessness, and poverty is the highest amongst women. And we should have a capable state that will take care of the infrastructures and the service deliveries of women. which is definitely not on par with the United Nations global standards. And it's going to take us 150 years to reach gender equality in terms of the trajectory that South Africa is on. And how shameful is it that women still don't have basic food supply, and that children go hungry and cannot perform in school because they are hungry? And how sad is it that women are still economically oppressed? And so, ladies and gentlemen, or yes, that are on the platform, we have to make service delivery a priority for all women in South Africa. We cannot tolerate the lack of services in health, education, business, and also in our environment. And we need to speed up this capable state, because the longer our municipalities fail, the longer women will be marginalized and in a state of poverty. And as parliamentarians and councillors, we have to do deep insight. And I just want one question to Salga. And my question is, how many multi-party caucuses are there in the municipalities? Because how can we forward the Salga goals if we don't have them? And where are they? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that powerful input. Can we go to number 3, please? The representative from the Economic Freedom Fighters. Please just switch on the mic.
Sorry. Good afternoon. Mhlali ngaphambili, igama lami nguNosipho Makhamba Botja, a member EFF and also the member of Provincial Parliament. Mhlali ngaphambili, I just had some information now from one of the sources. According to the quarterly labor force survey of second quarter of 2021, the South African labor market is more favorable to men than it is to women. Men are more likely to be in paid employment than women, regardless of race, while women are likely than men to be doing unpaid work. It's a pity that when the Minister of Labor was talking, I was outside. I wanted him to actually share with us, as the Minister, what policies does he have in place to make sure what I've just alluded earlier on is being addressed, because I didn't see anything much that is speaking on that. And for an example, in the Western Cape alone, we have thousands and thousands of employees who are coming to our offices complaining about the issue of TAVs. And apparently from the report that we are getting from Department of Labor, there's lots of companies in the Western Cape specifically who have applied for TAVs money fraudulently, and those monies are nowhere to be found. These employees are in the Western Cape, employers are in the Western Cape, and they're not traceable. So I just want to understand the integrity of that department. How is it possible that they process so much money, millions of rands, and are being paid to companies that are not legitimate? For starters, with regards to what I've said, all these social ills that we're faced with in our societies are actually speaking directly on the ongoing pandemic of gender inequalities that we are faced with. The victims of these gruesome abuse, it's because of women who must succumb to men rather, because of survival. We are being silenced because we are begging for supper. So I just want to find out again from the Minister of Employment and Labor, what is it that his department is doing to trace these companies? And we're losing lots of cases in the CCMA in the Western Cape specifically, because that department is captured by the capitalists of the Western Cape. Thousands and thousands of people who are coming to lodge their cases in the CCMA, they're getting away with nothing because they're losing cases. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. We will now go to number 4. Honorable Soekers, it's your turn.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you to everybody that brought very passionate and spirited presentations from the various municipalities. There are a few, there's a comment that I want to make, and then there's submissions that I just want to make. I have a question that I would include. The first is that the member from the Eastern Cape used this phrase that I just want to add to the comment, which says, harsh cases of GBV needs harsh GBV laws. One of the things that we have been bringing before the Parliamentary Women Caucus and last year as part of Women's Parliament is the role of pornography in the types of violence that is being perpetrated against women. And we are silent about it as women. We are silent about the exploitation of women in media. We are silent about how women are being portrayed and in the stories even that are being shown. And we need to ask, especially women in legislation that are serving in our legislatures, to play an active role to demand harsher and stricter regulations where pornography is concerned. We cannot deny that it plays a huge role in the kind of violence that we are seeing in South Africa. Just during the lockdown period, there was a report that showed that pornography, or the business of pornography, for lack of a better term now, has grown to 200%. And we need to put the link together, and there is research available. Then secondly, I want to talk about the forced removal of women from farms. Chair, it is not enough for provinces here to speak about legislation and United Nations goals when we know that in the Boland area, the Drakensberg area, women are forcibly removed with the help of the police and with the help of the municipalities. And women are assaulted on farms. With their children, they are being put in a place in Drakensberg that is a pig's farm. They are being dumped there. So we cannot talk about UN goals and regulations while in the legislature, whatever it is, whether it be at local government, in the national parliament, or in the province, we are not speaking against the fact that women and the children are being made homeless. They are being thrown out of farms and they are being dumped in shacks, and they need to live there after they've lived on farms for 15 to 30 years. So I want to ask here that there be a response from this house today in this sitting. What is going to happen to the vulnerable women and children that are being put out on farms? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Soekers. We will now go to the input from the lady from the EFF.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Nombongo Bongikai, and I'm the incoming councillor for Ward 1, City of Cape Town. Yeah. Chairperson, the reports that are being given today, that are being tabled here, paints a very black picture of how COVID-19 has exacerbated the challenges we are facing when it relates to women's economic empowerment, and how it has disproportionately affected them socially and economically. This is the case in all sectors, whether it is education, entrepreneurship, and public and private sector. The recovery plan or the recovery policies must be deliberate, bold, and make sure that they are targeted. They are a targeted approach in different sectors. It is critical that we look at available data so that interventions are addressing a problem that has been properly diagnosed. We need to invest in the following: developing proper expertise in gender-related issues, be realistic about the current problems that are facing the country pre-COVID-19 and currently, and how they would impact any recovery plan. South Africa's informal businesses are mainly run by women. We need to make sure that we develop proper support of these businesses. Basic education in this country has been a problem for many years. Research has shown that the formative years are critical in the development of children. We need to build proper structures that will assist in supporting basic education in the recovery of what was lost in the last 2 years. But this is not addressed in a country where learners were struggling when reaching higher education. We're struggling. When reaching higher education, this will continue and will be out of control. Digital inequalities needs to be resolved. We cannot live in a country where if you have to be in any of our rural towns, you cannot be connected. We continue to support these inequalities and improper ITs infrastructure. I must say the only way that we can make sure that our infrastructure add value in the economy is when the government builds internal capacity and appoint artisan and qualified engineers, etc. That can only procure material that the government cannot procure. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much. We will now go to number 6. Is it you, Ma? You can take the floor. It's fine.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. My name is Bongiwe Mkwibiso from the Overberg region, a proud member of the ANC and the ANC Women's League. I've been listening to the presentations that have been done here, Chair, and what I've noticed is that most of the discussions here are going around the issues of social development, which means the leadership that is here needs to mainly focus and support that Department of Social Development in trying to help the communities, because as I've been working with some ECD centers, I've noticed that there was a stimulus fund or grant that was promised to the ECD centers. I think we really need to prioritize that because it helped lots of ECD centers, women who are looking after the kids and also the children that are going to those centers without food. So we urge that that needs to be supported and also be maintained to continue. And on the issue that was mentioned by the Eastern Cape, that women needs to be prioritized when it comes to land, because here we have lots of women who have the skill of occupying the space in the agricultural sector. But unfortunately, we don't have means, we don't have land to start any of the projects so that we stop being dependent in men. We really ask this house today could take that forward, that women needs to be prioritized as we want to occupy our space. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now go to number 7 and 8, and then come to number 9 before I go to the virtual platform. Oh, we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session. Mine is to the MEC of Eastern Cape. The agri rollout program that is being done in the Eastern Cape expects one to have experience and to have agri-soil or agricultural background. Now, as we understand, 57% of people with this experience and agricultural education are males. So we are going to ask, how do we circumvent such situations to ensure that females get more participation, and such participation ensures that they are also beneficiaries of that agri rollout program? And also, we are then going to then also ask the MEC. The Eastern Cape is a very culturally rich province, and we understand this, such that education becomes a primary need for those people, because people of the Eastern Cape are not in touch with some of the things that are happening today, and do not adapt to situations so quick. So it becomes ignorant of us to just expect them to take this change upon themselves. So what about a program such as ABET to ensure that literacy and numeracy skills are taught in rural societies and rural areas, to ensure that everyone gets the basic skills and requirements to understand that society is a changing and adaptable place, and thus those people are also part of society, so as to understand these things. Such things, I think such things as CPV only augment themselves in our society due to lack of education and due to lack of knowledge, and we somehow perceive our expectation as to be the expectations or the viewpoint that are correct. But if we are to actively take part in educational measures to ensure that people understand and know the benefits of what the society can bring about, if we all take active part in it, then we could grow for a better. So the MEC, there's a lot of youth graduates that are unemployed. So programs such as ABET, which will ensure that rural areas get skills development, also kills the part of youth unemployment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. My name is still Apostle Princess Lorraine Moko. And I would like to comment on the work that has been done by the provinces. I must say I am very much impressed on the effort that the provinces are doing. Although I've got a couple of questions that I think an ordinary citizen like myself would want to see answered. Part 1 of this session has set a very good tone and opened my eyes in terms of what women are really dealing with. But part 2, when the provinces were presenting and the seriousness in how they take women issues, heated my heart, warmed my heart. But at the same time, I became very much heartbroken by the stories that come from the different provinces. And it dawned to me, it came to light, that in actual fact, the women that they are quoting in each and every one of these presentations is actually me, the ordinary citizen, the ordinary person, a woman that is not a councillor, a director, a member of parliament. My question is, and it goes to all the provinces, and it will also support the statement that comes from SALGA that says it mustn't be a tick sheet exercise. It mustn't be event-driven, but it has to be people-centered and task-orientated in terms of making sure that, in actual fact, these meetings, these forums that we have are translated to programs that will actually help women. The questions thereof that I have is, where do we help as ordinary women? Where do we help as organizations that are representing women out there? Where do we fit in? And the last question is, are we being intentional in including the young woman as well as the girl child? Looking in the space that we are in right now, majority that I see is unfortunately the gray hair, the middle age. But where is the young girl in a school uniform? Couldn't we have possibly made an effort to bring them here? Except for school, they are doing the one week in, 1 week out. We could have made a plan. So that on its own tells me that even our thinking capability is very much short-sighted. So somewhere along the lines, we need to make an effort. Make an effort from a preschool child. Believe you me, they can make a difference. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take the last two on the floor here, and then we'll go to the virtual platform. Okay. I'll take these three hands, but that's all, because we have to go to the virtual platform.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Good day, everyone. All protocols observed. Can I speak my language, please? Igama lam ndingu Pastor Belinda Ncinane Jack. Ndikwi rep ye Dawn yasenyanga. Zimbini into endizawuma phezu kwazo. I'm a domestic violence survivor for 14 years. And I'm a mother of a rape victim. I just want to submit, I'm not sure if it's a question or what, my chair, to the MEC for Social Development. For 6 years now, I've been trying to get it for counseling, but the social workers of our areas or in our communities, they are failing us. So I just want to know, how far do they go to see if the social workers are doing their jobs and they are taking the case until the end? I just want to know that. I'm curious about that, because when you go to the social workers in our areas, they will pass you like a ball to another social worker, to another social worker, to another social worker, until you get tired. So I just want to know, how far do they go to see to it that the case has been done? Thank you, my chair. The second one is the reason we're facing all these rapes and all that in our communities to children. It's because of hunger. People that have the resources to feed their communities, people that they have all these resources, they are feeding their families. But there are people that are so willing within their power to feed the community, but they can't get into those doors and then can't get those resources. So I just want to know, how far must those people go to get the resources to feed the community? Thank you, my chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. It's a very powerful input. Thank you. I need to take quickly the last two hands before we go over to the virtual platform. We are running far behind time, but we value your inputs.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Patricia Boy from EFF. All protocol are observed. Ngicela ukuthetha isiXhosa. Ndiyaxolisa, ndicela ukuyithatha indlu ndiyiphindise back kwi-gender-based violence. Let me thank Apostle in the corner there. I think we shift from ukulibala abantwana abancinci. I like the point that you raise. I think if you can go back, kwela xesha loba abantwana kwakukho i-girl guides esikolweni. We go back. I was thinking that the Minister of Education is going to be here. Let us, indlela sizawuqeqesha ngayo abantwana, sibaphindise back kwi-girl guides. There were i-girl guides. Apho sasikhula siyazi uba umntana oyintombazana funeka aziphathe njani. There were i-boy scouts. Apho abantwana abangamakhwenkwe babezazi bafuneka beziphethe njani. There were i-drum majorettes. Abantwana bethu lonely. They are busy with
phones, with internet. They don't know what to do. At the end of the day, they adopt everything that is wrong with social media. They adopt e-porns and all of that stuff. Then at the end of the day, we end up having boys who don't know how to respect Amando Mazan. We end up having Amando Mazan who don't have pride of being a girl. We end up depending on men in order to survive. I think it was last week when it was so sad, teenage pregnancy, it's not teenage pregnancy anymore. From the age of 10 to 14, abantwana bakhulelwayo. Where are we going to get mothers? Sizofumana mama banjani? In 10 years to come, abantwana base South Africa bazobe benjani? Iplea yami komama balapha, I'm a young ngumfazane osemncinci. Ngicela omama abadala balapha. Masishifteni kula culture yethu yokuba masinyamezele noba kumandanga. Beside ukubulawa kwabafazi, bayeka bababulawayo. Apha endlini ngoku niqinisekile bakhona abalimeleyo. Those who are bleeding inside and they hide their pain. And the more sisenza loo nto, we are killing our girls. If we don't come out and sithethe nge-gender-based violence, ne-domestic violence, umzekelo ngoku apha endlini, ayisoziphele because we're giving otata a license to abuse us and kill our kids. Right now, I'm so sorry, Chairperson. There's a girl, eMakhasa, up on Sukakon. He's been taken out in ngutata wakhe endlini. Umama wakhe akasekho bahlala bobabini, utata uthengise indlu. In a rainy weather, ebusuku izolo. He destroyed the house, wathatha izinto zabo wazilahla ngaphandle. Namhlanje abo bantwana banakhaya, and they don't have a parent. Now we have to stand up as women and support each other. And stop the fact that if you are born, you know the reason why. Because that's what is happening as females. If I'm abused, you give the reason, you give my husband the power to abuse me. You know the reason why I'm being abused. Instead of supporting me, you are laughing me. I like the fact that Minister Penny, she did mention the fact that we have to support each other. We can't have abafazi who vote for men, who support men, and when you support umfazi, vote against the woman. But silapa namhlanje sithi siyiparlamente yabafazi, but we don't support each other. Thank you, Shaka.
Enkosi kakhulu. Ma. Okay, I'm now going to very briefly, the representative of the NFP, if you can be very brief, because I need to go to the virtual platform and then we need to move on.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm not going to be long. Just a few inputs. I just want to say thank you to all the provinces giving their reports on what they had done or what they are busy with in this time. But I also have to say that it's not enough. For too long, we are sitting here and just talk. Each year, we come back with the same stuff and nothing are being done. And we have to recognize it and we have to say, yeah, we are wrong. We are wrong because we can't sit in Parliament, the highest authority, and sit with paperwork and it looks good on paper. But when it needs to come to stuff need to be put in place, there's always a problem. I hear what the DA are saying about more money. Here the Western Cape is enough money. It's how we are doing, what we are doing with it and how we are circulating it. That's the problem with having money. The money is not the problem, it's how and what we are doing with it. And then I have to come back to the farm workers, the rural the rural and development center are failing our farm workers. We have to admit that right now. I'm standing here because I'm working every day with the farm workers and they are being failed. The previous speaker talked about how they are being put out. And when they go to the Rural and Development Center for help, they are being shown back to the legal aid department. Now, what are they there for? And we as women are always the ones who needs to take the brunts for stuff that we are not even, or what we haven't done. So the Western Cape must just look at their own budgets and their own faults before they go to any other province and throw stones at the other province, because we are sitting here and yes, we need to call a spade a spade. And we must start in our house, and our house is Western Cape. And we need to see who is governing the Western Cape right now so that we can get the case clear. I thank you. I thank you, Chairperson. A spade is a spade.
Thank you very much for that input. Can I go to the virtual platform, and can I ask members on the virtual platform to just ask your questions, because we also want to still give the MECs and the provinces time to engage with your questions. So I will give a minute to each of the people on the virtual platform. Honorable Nazli Sharif of the DA, if we could have your input, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And let me say how good you look in that speaker's seat. But to get to the crux of the matter, let me first address the member who spoke before me. We must be very sure, we must make very sure that the Women's Parliament does not turn into a political mudslinging contest. We are all here because we have the same issues and we are looking for solutions. Next, Chairperson, I'm not sure if we were listening to the same presentations, but provinces have seemed to bring us political speeches and not necessarily what they are doing, how they are monitoring and evaluating their implementation, and what is the way forward. So I would just like to note my concern on that. Chairperson, we obviously have a huge gap when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide, and this is legal representation for women. Legal representation in this country is shocking. Most of those places who give free legal aid are incapacitated and under-resourced. So the amount of women they're helping versus the amount of women that need help is very far and in between. So I think we need to go back and have a look at mechanisms that we can introduce as Parliament, perhaps look at certain processes we can look at, looking at the Commission for Gender Equality as one entity, and see how we can increase the amount of legal representation for women. The truth of the matter is oftentimes women are married to men who is more financially stable than they are, so they can afford lawyers, and they can, when they're going for divorce or maintenance or even domestic violence cases. And oftentimes we see women not getting justice because they don't have adequate legal representation. So I would like to put to the Women's Parliament to add this onto our agenda and look at ways we can find to close the gap so that women are not left out in the cold when they need legal representation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sharif. And I think I share your sentiments. We must never forget as women that the struggles of women don't have a color or a political affiliation. We are stronger together. We are stronger when we tackle all of the issues together, because at the end of the day, women are suffering and we need to address it collectively without our political spectacles or color spectacles. But thank you very much, Honorable Sharif, for that. I will now go to the next input, Nosipo Yunus, also on the virtual platform, please. Okay, we're going to move on to Fighters Zandiswa Suku.
Good afternoon once again, Lady Chair.
Thank you.
I'm going back. I think I'll also take you back as one of the previous speakers has done. First of all, we can't run away from gender-based violence. While I was listening to all the speakers, it has triggered my emotions. 2019, I was in Lady Frey. That is where I come from. 2019 December, a child was a girl, a 15-year-old girl, on the 26th of December, was found by my dad in a pit toilet. Unfortunately, we still have pit toilets in Lady Frey. It's things that we cannot run away from. and it's things that we don't have control over, but the people that are leading us that have control over. This body was found. Apparently, the child was murdered the morning of the 26th of December. Till today, 2021, that child's case is still pending, if not closed, by the police station of Lady Frey. No investigations were properly done. DNAs were taken to Pretoria, but nothing has been done. My parents have been trying to write letters to the Minister of Police as well, in order to find out, because it happened in our yard. We had to break down the toilet and close the hole, because that child's body, we couldn't use that toilet ever again. Gender-based violence is still evident, and there's no work, or there's nothing, or there's no evidence that it is being fought, or it is being worked on. Is it because it was a Black child from a Black rural community that this had no attention? Is it because of where the child was coming from that there's no attention paid to the case? What shall we do as the women of South Africa to feel safe? What must we do to keep our baby sisters safe? Because that child was exactly the same age as my sister. Yes, it is negligent of a parent not to know where the child is during the late hours of the evening, or during festive seasons. But that does not give any male a right to take a child's life that has a bright future ahead of them, instead of being a parent and correcting their child. It is not that there is no one that has been suspected of the case, but the case was not taken seriously.
Thank you.
And then going back to gender inequality in workplaces, it is still evident that if you're a female, we females are fighting against each other in leadership positions, and we females are not supporting each other due to the pressure that we're feeling of men. We are selling each other to men who are in power. Thank you, my lady. I don't want to take much of your time.
Thank you so much, Honorable Fighter. We appreciate your passionate plea and inputs. I'm now going to go to Jumna Abrams on the virtual platform.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Speaker of the House. Just to add on to what everything was saying, gender-based violence is very evident. And coming back to cases, and I think we should have had also the Minister of Justice part of this, because there's a lot of things, and there's a whole backup list of perpetrators waiting, and that's on parole, that's doing the same thing over and over and getting parole. And that is not a good thing for us as women sitting here. And rightfully said, it's not a political, it's us that have to stand together and fight for justice and putting things together. And what it is, what makes us wrong not to be happy for the next person. Doesn't matter what race, gender, or anything, but as women, we are more looking down on the next to try to be better than the next person and suck up to men. We shouldn't be doing that. We have to be actually inspiring each other and uplifting each other, but more so we are breaking each other down. And this is where it's coming to us women that is actually fighting against each other, but instead of working together to make a better community and a better country at the end of the day. Because like I rightly said earlier in our talks in the earlier session, is that we have the capabilities of making everything stand still and take note of us. We have that capabilities as women. And rightfully back when Winnie Mandela said, when you strike a rock, you strike a nation. When you strike a woman, you strike a nation. And that is the emphasis we need to put on ourselves as women. Be strong, be bold, stand up for what is right and justice. That is what we need to do. And we need to empower each other and uplift each other as women. That is what we need to do, because then our future generation will look up to us and follow pursuit. We need to take things forward, not this one and that one. We. And it's all in our hands, in our capabilities of doing that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abrams. I'm going to take Nomi Nokondlo, if she is Nkondlo.
No, thank you. Thank you, Chair and Speaker of this August session. Chair, two issues, because I don't want to take much of your time. I think I want to join many women who says perhaps we must reflect on self first, so that we can actually be able to see where we may be making some errors ourselves as women to jointly advance the same struggles, lest we find ourselves using most time to attack each other and we come back saying the same things. Perhaps I want to say, because both were in Parliament and therefore it is a platform of change, both in terms of party politics, which we are members of as women, perhaps we need to call as part of our resolutions that each and every party that sits and participate in this women's parliament, we must then, as women from these political parties in the next parliament, present reports of the extent to which individually in our parties we are able to make the desired change, especially through legislation, through programs, through interventions, through budgets, especially where those parties may be governing in municipalities, in provinces, or in national departments. Maybe we need to make that commitment so that we are able to speak and say, my party has done A, B, C, and D, and we can be able to be enjoined in that. The last one, Chair, I want to raise is that I think one of the things we must always do not forget in these conversations is to elevate the economic situation of women, because the problem where it starts with the current oppression of women historically and even to date is on the challenge of women's economic freedom. So currently we're talking about a 34% unemployment, and the recent stats indicate that 41% thereof is women. And therefore, this should be, again, another resolution. When we come in the next Women's Parliament, are we able to demonstrate by our individual acts? Because accountability must start with ourselves. We can't only be making speeches, but we cannot make accountability about how we contribute as individuals, but also in our organization, political or otherwise, to these issues we raise. So how next year, the same time when we meet in the Women's Parliament, we have to use the 43% to say, how is the situation, the economic situation of women? Because so long as women are in the economic periphery, clearly we are always going to be coming to this Women's Parliament and be having this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think those proposals that you've made in terms of political parties, also reporting on their progress is welcomed. Can we go to the last two on the virtual platform before I'll give it over to the MECs and the provinces to respond? There is one more or two more. The name is only reflected as Ken Kina. Ken Kina. Okay. Rainet. If there's a Rainet on the virtual platform. I'm going to go. Okay, I think we will now go to the responses. I would firstly like to call for the representative of the Eastern Cape to respond, followed by the Western Cape, followed by the Northern Cape, Salga, and the Minister of Labour. So over to the Eastern Cape.
Rainet, I was struggling to connect.
Okay, Rainet, please can you make your input before we go to the responses?
Yes, thank you very much for this event. It's a very important one. I've got only one question for all the provinces. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the first presentations by the provinces. But what I want to know is that every year for years, we've been going out doing campaigns, doing this and that, but I haven't had any impact of these campaigns that we are doing. I think in the next parliament, we would like to know what impact have we made with our campaigns, with all the programs that we have to reduce the rate of gender-based violence. That is what I need to hear. If there's one who spoke about it, I'm sorry, perhaps I joined you late because I was attending another seminar for SWC. So can we have that information? If it is not here today, when we come, let's measure if we are attaining the objectives that we have set ourselves in these programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we now quickly go to the responses? I would like to give over to the Eastern Cape, followed by the Western Cape. Is the Eastern Cape still with us? Can we ask Honorable Schaefer? Are there any of the representatives of the provinces still online that can respond to some of the inputs? Please go ahead, Northern Cape.
No, thank you very much, Chair. As I welcome all the input and contribution, I think it also enriches us the work that we are doing, and as they recognize that we collectively we need to also work together as the government and as well as the civil society and even the parliament in this. I would like to make, firstly, I know the question that was saying that recognizing the shortfall and the job losses that took place in our province. As I presented that we had 80,000 jobs losses last year in the second quarter, but we worked very hard and put some programs in place and plans. We managed to create about 58,000 jobs. However, there is a shortfall of 22,000 jobs, 500 in that regard. Hence, the province developed economic reconstruction and recovery plan. It's just that, Honorable Chairperson, I didn't have adequate time to outline all the projects that, and even the plans that the provinces have put in place. I just highlighted few of them, which I think they indeed are significant in ensuring that we're going to recover. But I want to highlight a few of them which I didn't highlight earlier on, which falls under the infrastructure project that will be able to unfold as a province, which have to deal with the ensuring that we empower women under the auspices of housing and women's settlement in those projects. And also we are also working towards ensuring that we're going to have project under the biodiversity environment project that will also be able to create jobs for women also in the community at large. And also want to, maybe some of the members in the platform didn't even, I didn't get clear that there is some programs already that I highlighted that we want to focus on young women in our province, where already projects that have been outlined, which was about young women in the DSEC, which is sports, arts and culture, and as well as in ambassador for digital skills development for women, and for ICT programs for young women. So those are the programs that few programs that they can be able to outline. We have under this reconstruction and recovery plan, 18 programs that will be able to, as a province, to go to unfold to ensure that we resuscitate our economy as a province and also contribute to the GDP of our country. So those are the programs that we, as a province, we will be able to ensure that we put in place to recover the job losses that we have. We know that also as a province, we are agrarian land programs that we're having in the province. We pride ourselves that we have a vineyards which contribute to about 86% to the table grapes in our country. So mostly are women in those jobs opportunities that have been created there. So Chair, those are the things that I think are under the questions that fall under our province. We wanted to find out how are the plans to ensure that we recover job losses that we experienced last year. And then we have just outlined how we're going to recover those jobs. And then our NSP have also already earlier on outlined how we're going to ensure that we're going to achieve and implement it. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Can I ask if any of the other provinces are still online that can give us some responses? Salga, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I've posted my responses on the question asked by Councillor from Western Cape on the group chat. But what I want to directly respond to is that all provinces started launching. It's only she at the Western Cape who did not launch any of the multi-party caucus structure, and we will gladly assist them to launch. They can just give me a telephone call and then I will, but check the chat. They are the only ones that must still come in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't think I can read the chats from here, but it's fine. Thank you very much. We will facilitate that. Are there any other responses on the virtual platform that we can take at this stage before we move on to the next session? Okay, I take it there are no further responses, but Chief Whip, I think there are members, there are participants who ask specific questions to specific provinces, and I think we need to facilitate written responses for these participants so that we do justice to what we've done here today. And then sorry that some of your questions were not answered. This then concludes this third session or second session of this day. And I would like to thank all of you who participated. Yes, Honourable
Chairperson, I thought you were going to grant an opportunity to the Minister of Employment and to respond to some of the questions.
I did call him. I in fact called him as the last speaker, but I'm not sure. Is the Honourable Minister of Labour still with us to respond to the question that was posed to him? Okay. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll make an undertaking that we take your contact details and that we ask the Minister to respond to you in writing, if that is acceptable. He's not online, okay. Thank you very much. I would like to say thank you to everyone that participated. I think your voices were heard and you will still be thanked today, but I think the message that is coming out very clear is that women, we don't want empty promises without action. We want to see action. We don't want to come back to this National Assembly, to this Women's Parliament next year and remember more lives lost, another Anine Boysen or another Reva Steenkamp. We want to see progress. We want to see action. We want to see real change in the lives of our women. I'm now going to give over the next session to the chairperson of the Multi-Party Women's Caucus, the Honourable Kate Bilankulu. She's on virtual platform. I now hand over to you, chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable van der Merwe. And thank you very much to the Deputy Chairperson of the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Member Jodina, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, Premiers and members of the legislature, and all participants, good afternoon. My name is Kensani Kate Bilankulu Mahabani, the chairperson of Multi-Party Women Caucus. I'm going to chair the third session. We are given 55 minutes to each speaker. So please, I'm appealing to all the speakers to stick to your stipulated or allocated minutes. Thank you very much. We're now starting. I'm going to call upon the member from the ANC, Honorable Naledi Maponopono. Over to you to give the message of support. Thank you.
Honorable Chair of the session, you are making a mistake. The ANC is the last to speak. Can you check the updated program? I'm sorry for this. The first person to speak is from the Democratic Alliance. Honorable Sharif, that is why she was on screen. Honorable Sharif is the one that is supposed to speak right now.
On a point of order, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. But I've been given a message shortly to say that allocation has been amended. The first speaker will be the ANC. I'm not so sure whether the deputy chairperson of the NCOP can.
I'm updating you. Honorable Pilangulu, I'm updating you, my honorable chair, because I'm here in the house. We had a meeting with the chair, so I'm making that update to you. That is why Honorable Sharif was on the platform.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I'll call
you.
upon Honorable Sharif from the DA to start giving the message of support.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Sharif, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It goes without saying, if government and its departments do not work, no change will be seen on the ground and felt by citizens. There doesn't go a day in this country without news of another woman being failed by government. DA leader John Steenhuisen told me that the pace of government is exceptionally and frustratingly slow when I first got to Parliament and he could see my frustration. I am stunned at the snail pace of implementation and how everything is so slow, seems so slow to happen. While women and members of the LGBT community continue to be raped, beat, murdered, and left without justice, there has been no change, Minister Mashabane, till today. Let me be frank, the interventions in the National Strategic Plan is not being felt on the ground, and this is problem number one. This is not to say that the NSP is the problem, no. The problem is how slow implementation is happening, honorable ministers. Tutuzela care centers may be there, but they are still under-resourced and under-capacitated till this day. Police stations are still struggling with rape DNA kits. GBVF frontline workers remain overwhelmed, and survivors and victims stay waiting for recourse while perpetrators roam the streets freely. All the while, we see more violence ravishing our communities right now. The NSP is a comprehensive document that literally gives government a blueprint of intervention that need to happen. Like, read it, understand it, then do it, finish. The problem here is that implementation, Minister Mashabane, is just too slow. It is taking too much time for departments to integrate the NSP into strategic plans and APPs. It is taking too slow to approve monitoring and evaluation frameworks. There is little to no consequence management to barriers departments are facing, and there is simply not enough mechanisms to hold the executive and departments accountable. Government must pick up the pace and move. A capable state is one that hits the ground running, is focused on solutions, and ensures implementation is their only priority. All of the presentations that were given to us this morning, All the plans, the hyperbole, the fluff that we heard is only to try and convince us that government is actually trying to do something. If government wants to actually do something, they must ensure the following. First, the NSP on GBVF framework must be fast-tracked and approved within this quarter. There is no more time to wait. This framework must be used by all departments that are key drivers of the NSP. The Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities must prioritize this with immediate effect. Next, the legislation to form the National Council on GBVF must be a priority and come to Parliament now, because a GBVF secretariat is not sustainable for the long term. Departments are not reporting on the NSP, and I foresee that this will continue to be a problem. Therefore, the Interministerial Committee on GBVF ensure that there are tools in place. Perhaps look at director and deputy director targets and include it in performance reviews and assessments. This will directly hold individuals accountable to the implementation of the NSP. Writing letters to departments and hoping for a response is just not good enough. I would suggest that reporting on the NSP is changed. 1, we are tired of words and paragraphs that mean nothing. 2, focus your presentations on the key performance indicators, the progress of reaching targets, the amount of money you are spending and projecting to spend on the implementation of these targets. 3, speak frankly on what your challenges are. You must be able to see the reality to change course and what tangible interventions are. And lastly, make the NSP biannual reports to the IMC and the President public so we can see exactly what is happening. Government must fast-track the implementation of the NSP. The truth of the matter is nothing has changed. As we remember those who have been taken away from us by GBVF, and 2 years after the tragic death of Uyenene, we must seriously ask ourselves, are we in a better place now? The answer is an absolute no, and this is my point. Honorable members, we must change the way government works if we want to see change in our society. I thank you, House Chairperson.
Honorable Chair, are you still on the platform? Honorable members, we shall proceed. I'll recognize the Speaker of the EFF, Honorable Mabato Makausa.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Other members on the platform switch off their mics and videos to allow the speaker to be audible.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session. Chair, we are gathered here once again to what should be deemed as a report back on what has been achieved more than 26 years into democracy. The year 1994 marked the end of an oppressive legislated system of apartheid and violence. However, for women, this has not translated to freedom from gender oppression and economic emancipation. Chair, neither has the signing of international treaties, regional conventions, and the codification of women's rights had much of an impact on social inequalities continue to lag behind legislation. Chairperson, under the apartheid, Black women were the most historically disadvantaged socio-economically and fell at the bottom of stratification order in terms of the race and class. Chairperson, and today, not much has been changed, not much has changed as existing legislation failed in protecting women and instead have proved ineffective in the face of current statistics. For women, unemployment increased from 30% to 36 compared to an increase from 31% to 32.4% unemployment rate amongst men, with majority of unemployed women being Black women who reside in township and rural areas. Chairperson, this is once again an example of how women continue to be excluded from the economy by the capitalist system in place, and this extends to all spheres of life, including family, climate, and other natural resources for profit. For those women, Chairperson, who have entered the workplace, they too face other challenges in that they are often paid less than their counterparts, being the males, or being ill-treated. Chair, this session has now degenerated to a praise-singing platform amongst those who have made it in executive positions provincially and nationally. We have seen during the opening of this session how you praised the current Speaker of Parliament, yet women there continue to suffer in the hands of the current administration, which you are part of. You are correct, Minister Nkwani Mashabane, when you alluded to the fact that women find themselves in relationships which abuse them emotionally and financially. Yes, one of those relationships includes the African National Congress, which today still cannot pay its workers. Amongst those workers are men and women who are expected by their families to put bread on their table despite not being paid, expected by their employer to perform to the best of their ability. How do you correct the situation in South Africa when you can't even correct your own backyard? Chair, in education, inequality still exists, and this being a major challenge facing the development of South African women, as access to education is an important commodity in ensuring that women progress to higher education level and in turn earn their space in the growing economy. Every year, the basic education system lose over 500,000 learners, most of whom are girls. Under the COVID pandemic, an estimated of 750,000 school children have dropped out as a result of the COVID pandemic. Girls which will grow up to swell the ranks of women who are more vulnerable to abuse in the workplace and to abuse at home. Chairperson, while challenges facing women's development have evolved over time, the key elements of problems hampering women's development are still essentially the same. Post-apartheid South Africa remains deeply unequal society, and there is still much that needs to be tapped into, exploited with the social dimensions of this inequality. Women face a number of challenges such as poverty, violence, unemployment, with inequality being the most prominent, and it is such socio-economic factors which women are more prone to men who place women at more vulnerable positions. Chairperson, am I protected? What is the problem?
Your time is up. So I'm protecting you from abusing the time.
It's a decisive government which will prioritize development and upliftment of women.
Can I please switch off the honorable member? Her time is up. Honorable person below, take over. Switch off the speaker and the chair take over.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable.
On a point of order,
Honorable Member, Honorable Makause.
Point of order. Rising on a point of order.
Thank you very much. We are proceeding. I'm going to call upon the third speaker.
On a point of order.
Honorable Makause. Honorable Makause.
Which you are.
Your time is
very much
over.
Very much worrisome, Chairperson. You have eaten our time by giving the provinces to come and lie to us when us as political parties are supposed to be making.
Honorable Makaus, IT, can you help us?
Cannot allow that these people are ridiculous.
IT, can you help us? Thank you very much. I'm going to call upon the third speaker, who is
Honorable
the
Chair.
member of the IFP.
Honorable Chair, on a point of order. This is the Women's Parliament convened by the Multi-Party Women's Caucus to engage with women in South Africa. The program was shared with all leaders of political parties. The provinces are not here by chance. They were invited. It is out of order for Honorable Makause to come and ridicule provinces here. They are part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip, for that clarity.
I'm rising on a point.
Honorable Makause, please, please.
The provinces, I'm saying we have heard absolutely nothing from those provinces, and it happens even in the NCOP.
IT, can you help us, please?
We hear absolutely nothing.
Thank you very much. We are proceeding with our proceedings. I'm going to call upon the member from the IFP, which is Honorable Zandile Majosi. You've got only 4 minutes. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Allow me to firstly wish and celebrate His Excellency Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's special day of birth. God has truly blessed us with one of His angels to serve the people of our country and to do so with the utmost integrity. Shenge, happy birthday to our national treasure. Before we even begin to address today's theme, we must address the elephant in the room. Government has yet again failed miserably to protect the women of South Africa. Let us put the facts on the table. 10,006 women were raped between April and June 2021 alone. According to the latest quarterly crime statistics, year on year, we gather for Women's Parliament to hear the empty promises our government on repeat. The tragic reality is that nearly 3 years have lapsed and we are still waiting for the convening of the National Council on GBV and Femicide, literally described as the custodian of the National Strategic Plan on GBV. No matter how the government tries to spin it, there has been no real progress in fighting GBV. This is simply unacceptable. The women of South Africa deserve to have a constitutional right to the state's protection. Honorable Chairperson, in May 2021, an inquiry report of the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women found in no uncertain terms that South Africa was in grave violation of many of its international law duties to protect women. Where is the accountability of these failures? Why is there no one being taken to task? At a minimum, why are there no political consequences for any individuals? Let us hope that the people of South Africa, and especially the women of South Africa, use their voices in the next election to turn this tide of inefficiency around. Honorable members, turning to the advancement of an inclusive economy, it is undeniable that the socio-economic and financial impact brought on by the pandemic had a much greater impact on women. Not only the majority of frontline workers, women also find themselves in such less secure employment than men and had to shoulder additional caregiving duties. The World Economic Forum also held in 2020 that the projected time to close the economic gap between women and men increased by 10 years between 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our biggest priority should be to break down regulatory barriers that hinder access to finance relief funding for small business enterprises, especially those owned by women. The pandemic has shown how challenging it is for small businesses to access relief funding, as well as to adhere to the strict financial requirements before assistance could be provided. We cannot begin to grow more inclusive economy if we do not address these obstacles. In conclusion, the IFP salutes the women of this country who bravely fought the economic impact of the pandemic. They carried on daily, contributing to our economy, fighting as frontline workers and providing bread for their families. We will not be silent. We will highlight these struggles as well as the gross inefficiency of our government to protect and help the women of South Africa. I thank you.
Yeah, on Majosi, Honorable Majosi, yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majosi. I'm now going to call upon the Honorable Member from the FF Plus, who is Honorable Briet. Honorable Briet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the pompous fanfare that this House has experienced today is unwarranted. We as women leaders in this forum today should hang our heads in shame at how little anything has changed since Uyunene. How little impact we as parliamentarians, councillors, and women representatives have made in the lives of the women that we have to be the voices of. With the brutal murder of Nisiselo Mtabeni last week, I started thinking of my first year in Parliament and the protests we witnessed during that Women's Month. It is 2 years since that fateful Women's Month that we lost Baby Lee Jeggles, Amahle Tabete, Uyunene, and the many, many others. I look back at the headings of the week between Women's Parliament and the Women's Day debate in the National Assembly, and here are some of the headings. SA female boxing champion Baby Lee Jeggles has been shot dead by her boyfriend. Cape Town woman's body found chopped up in apartment building. Youth leader and grandpa found murdered in a flat in Matroosfontein. Girl, 14, raped and killed in her Oma's backyard. Man confesses to UCT student Uyunene's murder. And then I looked up some headlines of this past week. Body of brutally murdered, half naked and partially burnt woman found dumped in bushes. 99-year-old Gogo murdered in bloody Limpopo weekend. Female police officer in the Free State allegedly murdered by boyfriend. Pregnant woman found murdered in Crocodile River. Fort Hare student's body parts found in East London Street. Grieving family of murdered Leeuwkop female prison warden demands justice for her life. And these are only some of the headings of this week. Crime is out of control. GBVF is out of control, and the pandemic has not helped. Chair, we cannot start talking about economic growth and the women's role in inclusive economy if crime is at an all-time high. We cannot expect women to rise above, be true contributors to an economy if we do not ensure their safety first. We need to ensure that an environment is conducive. The Minister of Labour today said we need to raise awareness of sexual harassment in the workplace and listed a number of things his department is doing to raise awareness. But Honourable Minister, to raise awareness is not going to solve the problem. Talking about the problem will not solve it either. A lady in the chat earlier today summed it up perfectly when she said, we need to move from awareness on GBV. Everyone is aware. We need to move towards action and implementation of programs. Government needs to ensure that the laws we have enforced, the bills. Yes, Chair. Chairperson, I have 4 minutes, and this is 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Can I continue?
Honorable Chair Pilankulu, she's got 1 minute 4 seconds left.
Okay.
May I continue, House Chair?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, government needs to ensure that the laws we have enforced, the bills in process should be expedited, and the offenders should be brought to book. It is only then that women will be able to truly play on a level field. But it goes even further than that. Unemployment is at an all-time high, the highest amongst Black women. Yet the women in government are letting these women down. The women in government support restrictive and prescriptive labor legislation that is not conducive to job creation. Women need to support women. Women should not preach laws that degrade women to a number. We need to stand up. Chairperson, I conclude with the same request as many speakers have today. Ministers, departments, and government in general have failed women as a whole. It is time for these departments and government to man up to the challenges South Africa is facing and to start doing their job. Chairperson, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Briett, IDP.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to acknowledge my guests today, Regine Dees, ACDP Women of Destiny leader in Overstrand, Theewaterskloof region, and Koliswa Menemene, an HR executive in the hospitality tourism industry. The tourism and hospitality industry are largely dominated by a female workforce, and the devastating impact of COVID-19 has dramatically impacted the livelihood of women in this sector of our economy. Business recovery in the tourism and agriculture sector is essential, as these industries could provide accelerated economic development of women through pathways for skills development and training that will lead to business ownership. The key to advancing the economic outlook of women is access to further learning, especially when pregnancy and childbirth interrupts learning or career development. We have been championing the National Senior Certificate for Adults as a gateway for further learning. We have also emphasized the desperate circumstances of homelessness that requires an accelerated and prioritized plan for decent housing for women-headed households. It is unthinkable that a woman must offer herself sacrificially for a roof over her head, but it is happening in our communities. Our emphasis today is on removing the barriers to learning, improving the programs for decent housing for women-headed households, and to call for strong and united women leaders to respond to the challenges we face. This will ensure we move forward towards accelerated development. Chairperson, a sluggish and unresponsive state mostly affects women. It is therefore women lawmakers that must champion the cause for an efficient but slimmed down state that focuses its mandate on creating a stable environment for growth and development, a state that creates the environment for empowerment of the individuals. I want to speak to this House to say, you have been divinely favored to be born a woman. I put it to this House that being born female is our privilege, and that being chosen to serve as a leader is the honor of our lives. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The saying, cometh the hour, cometh the man, should motivate us to act, because many hours have been wasted without any deliberate and tangible action being taken. While we sat and waited, the hour has come for women to rise and provide moral leadership to restore justice in this nation. Our people are waiting for us to rise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable speakers. A member of the UDM, Honorable Tandi. Honorable Notenja from the UDM.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me start by saying the theme of the day is relevant and a much needed intervention. But the question is, will this be implemented? Should it be implemented, it will go a long way in addressing GBVF. Our women become victims of GBV in many instances due to their reliance on their partners. Emancipation of women through inclusive economic growth is long overdue. Time of glossy themes is over. Now is time for action. Bomme, Charlotte Maxege and others must be turning on their graves when seeing the suffering that the women are going through in South Africa. Sisters, young and old, we can't meet annually merely to talk about these issues. Let's walk the talk, bearing in mind that women issues have no political boundaries. The country remains Mbaz Uinene Mkhwetyana this August, and we are mourning Nostelo Mtebeni, who died a gruesome death, to name a few. To the Minister of Women, who is once again no longer in the house. As women, we call for action. We call for clear direction. It's us as women who will ensure that the scourge of GBV comes to an end, who will ensure that women are empowered and capacitated. Less talk, more action. Malibongwe.
Thank you very much, UDM. I'm now calling upon the member of the ATM, Honorable Kuzoyo.
Madam
Member of the ATM.
Speaker. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I greet you all in the name of our Sheroine Charlotte Matlage. I purposely greeting this house in the name of Mama Matlage because of this time in August, we are celebrating her efforts in the revolution of a Black person. I would like to send my sincere condolences to the families who have lost their beloved daughters due to gender-based violence. To name one, Nofitalam Tembeni and many other young girls out there, may their precious souls rest in peace. Just imagine if Charlotte Matlage was murdered like this, we would not be here today. Women's lives matter. We as ATM say, it's high time that the justice system look at introducing the justice-based capital punishment because it can be the only thing that can bring justice. Women need to be empowered economically, not economically, also educationally, politically, socially, and psychologically. Mama Matlage was the first Black woman to graduate with a university degree in South Africa. Therefore, it should be a must in this month of the honor to celebrate the influx of graduates who are Black females in the country. Education is still a crucial part of development and growth. Medical involvement of women implies decentralization of power and authority in the deprived, oppressed, and powerless people who have not been able to participate in the decision-making process and the implementation of policies and programs. Matlage involved herself in political movement in Joburg. She was politically active throughout her adult life. Economically, people say money can't buy happiness, but being at an economic disadvantage can take away such assets. Being poor, landless, deprived, oppressed doesn't allow access to resources that those in good financial standing do. If we can close that gap, Madam Chair, it would allow everyone to have equal footing, and women in particular will gain a more significant job control and participation over the material and financial resources. Charlotte Matlage worked hard for the economic liberation. Thus, the parliament should be composed by women politicians with the character of the veteran Charlotte Matlage. I request the nation that the entire family politician should be fully participating in politics and should adopt that character of Mama Matlage. In conclusion, Chairperson, progress for women is a progress for everyone. Giving priority to women is not an option, but a necessity. Giving more opportunities to women, besides being a matter of right, it's also a manifestation of a good economic sense. Women are stuck in feminine perspective and men are stuck in masculine perspective when it comes to gender-based violence. That is dividing our society. It is a harsh reality we face when dealing with gender-based violence. When we fight the syndrome, we shouldn't class our demand based on gender. The question of gender-based violence is not a question of certain gender, but it's a human question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kuzoyo. Good.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Chairperson. You may proceed, but
Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson. At the last Parliament date, 28/2020, the Deputy Chair of the National Council of Province called an agent program of action from the three arms of state to bring an end of the gender-based violence and in our country. With Women's Month ending soon, sizobe sinenyanga yomama, 16 days of activism. Nalapho, Honorable Chairperson, sisathetha akabikho nto eside siyenze. Sizawumane sihlangana, sihlala kule parliament sibizana, kungabikho nto yenzekayo. Bayaphela abantwana bethu, abakho safe. Bayaphela omama, bayabulala omama ngotata, abakho safe. Bayaphuma ezitrongweni, singabazi baphuma benzani. Still continuing, qho xa kuthiwa inyanga yomama, kuyabulawa. Sihleleleni singomama bakho leadership. Yintoni esiyimeleyo? Omama basapotani. Yintoni esiyimeleyo singomama abasemzabalazweni? On Speaker, we have witnessed of increasing of crime against women. Nalapho sisahleli akukho nto side sime ngayo. Kwanele singumbutho weguti sithi kwanele omama kuqala. Omama mabakwazi ukulwela abantwana babo. Omama siyiparlamente mabayazi ukuthi makusetyenzwe sivukeni sisebenzeni kwenzele sikhusele isizwe sethu. Kwanele ngokubulawa kwabantwana. Kwanele ngokubulawa komama. Kwanele manje sihlala kwezi zitulo zaseparlamente singathathi action ezitratweni zethu, kwi-community zethu, kwi-country yethu. Honorable Speaker, singomama boMzantsi Afrika mandiphinde sithi kwanele. Singumbutho wegood sithi kwanele. Sifuna uliwe ubundlobongela. Sizawuva ngoku 16 days of activism. Sizawuva omama bazaphinde babulawe. Otata bayaphuma ezitrongweni. Bafumana i-bails ngabuni. Bezophinde bezobulala. Enough is enough. Recently, a question was asked to the MEC of Education in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament about the number of the sexual abuse cases in the Western Cape. The response was that 102 cases has been logged. When we try to find out what has happened to the perpetrators, the MEC has not responded. Haba, kwenzekani? Uthene ngazuphendula. Sifuna ukuva kwalikapa sikulo kwenzeka ntoni. Yet there are places that should be free for bullying, sexually abuse. Kwanele. Ndizayiphinda ndithi kwanele. Makasiyekeni ukuhlala kwezi parliamente sithethe bla 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 bla. Singami, singomama, singabafazi, sinabantwana. Abatata babulala abantwana bethu. Abatata badlwengula omama ngamadoda.
Wrap up.
I thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Luzette. If we can stick together, we can overcome all the challenges as women of this country. Thank you very much. I'm now going to call upon the member of the NFP, Honorable Ahmed. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I am Samira Ahmed and I represent the National Freedom Party. There's no doubt that South Africa has made progress towards achieving gender equality. However, 27 years into democracy and South Africa is the most unequal country in the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed just how fractured South Africa's democracy is. It's also illustrated that the fight against a patriarchal society is far from finished. The biggest contributor to South Africa's stagnant economy lies in the slow pace of inclusion of women in the mainstream economy. Let's take a look at the current reality in South Africa. Between April and June this year, over 10,000 cases of rape were reported. This means that 110 women are raped daily. And during this sitting, approximately 28 women are likely to have been raped in this time. One woman raped is one woman too many. Women account for only 19.4% of business owners in South Africa, yet women-owned enterprises account for over 30% of all SMEs in emerging markets. Only 13% of South Africa's executive directors are women. Unemployment is highest amongst women. Female-headed households are poorer than male-headed households, and women still earn up to 30% less than their male counterparts. South Africa has various pieces of legislation intended to prevent gender discrimination. However, the legislation and the implementation of the NSP and the enforcement of the same occur in silos, hindering real inclusive change. There's a lack of accountability and consequence management. Economic inclusion cannot be discussed in isolation of the deeply embedded patriarchal value system that exists in this country. And until we are able to shift the thinking around the role of women in our society, economic transformation for women will remain slow. Unless there is a focused effort to create safety in the workplace and in the home, women will remain disempowered. Our nation is deeply scarred, not just by the wounds of apartheid, but the unsafe living conditions facing women today. We have children who watched their mothers killed at the hands of their fathers, girls forced to watch their sisters being raped, baby girls being raped and killed by violent men in our society. Economic transformation and the gender bias that exists in the perceived role of women in South Africa are invariably and undeniably linked. South Africa faces many challenges, but perhaps the biggest challenge has been a crisis of leadership. Therefore, I call on you as elected leaders of state to exercise the positive influence you have over future generations of women in this country. You are instrumental in shaping South Africa's future. Disagree and debate, but stand together as a collective with autonomy from political factions under the umbrella of womanhood and amplify each other's voices. We are in a position of privilege, and as such, we have a responsibility to the women who have come before us at a time when the ideals of democracy and gender equality was a dream, to continue their fight against patriarchy by redefining the role of women in our society whilst driving the agenda of inclusive economic transformation. To conclude, in the words of Mama Charlotte Makleke, this work is not for ourselves. Kill the spirit of self and do not live above your people, but live with them. And if you can rise, bring someone with you. Honorable Chair, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Well done, Samira Ahmed. Congratulations, NFP.
The member of the AIC, I don't have a name on the speakers list. AIC.
They are not participating, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. COPE, Honorable Majisha.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. All women in our country and beyond our borders, please know that you are very important people. You carried all human beings in your wombs for almost a year. You gave birth to us, enduring all those horrendous pains. You grew us up even when our fathers ran away from supporting us. Some of you even stood in the streets at night, not because you enjoyed it, but because your children had to survive. And finally, you were refused respect when you finished your long walk. We thank you all. Permit me, Chairperson, to declare that COPE agrees with all the people that spoke before me. The main problem, however, is that each year we take resolutions, but don't implement them. Please let us do so from today. We have taken resolutions today and in the past. Please let us come together and implement. What COPE calls for is that government at all levels, namely at national, provincial, and local, must facilitate the formation of district committees, which must have as one of their main objectives the protection of women and children. The district police forces must work with those committees to protect the defenseless people we are here talking about today, women. The success of policing with the support of the community must show itself in crimes against these defenseless people in each area. COPE believes, and that has been proven, that sound police investigation is the second best solution. The first best solution is to prevent the abuse. We call on all of us to encourage women who find themselves in troubled relationships to avail themselves for training in avoiding silence and shame when they are taken through conflict, beaten up daily, and even literally killed at the end. The appropriate mechanisms must be put into place to ensure that gender sensitivity among police members is thoroughly inculcated. Linked to this, it means that organized people of women, the groups should have regular meetings with the police officials to ensure that the station functions properly and within acceptable parameters. Together with the community, institutional support mechanisms must be enabled to ensure that women are saved from violence. We call on the community leaders, policing structures to and make sure that we move forward. Thank you very much. We thank you very much. Please survive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member. The PAC, there is no name there. I don't know whether they are participating or not.
Honorable Chair, they are not participating.
Thank you very much. I'll call upon the Al-Jama, Honorable Veli Lutuli. It's your time.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good day. Assalamu alaikum. Molweni. Yeda. Honorable Chair, members of Parliament, honorable representatives of all parties, and everyone present, I greet you all. I am Velemina May Lutuli, commonly called Veli, from KwaZulu-Natal, representing the Al-Jama political party, which is a platform for all communities. I will be addressing the House on three very important and crucial issues: Nika marriages, fatherhood, and maintenance. During Women's Month of 2021, we are elated to note that after 27 years of struggle, a Nika bill has been finally accomplished for Muslim marriages. This was made possible by the Al-Jama Party under the leadership of its Member of Parliament, Honorable Hanif Hendricks, who tabled the private members bill on 24th August 2021. The recognition of the Nikah, a Muslim marriage performed according to Islamic rites, will restore the dignity of Muslim women. Currently, when a Muslim spouse dies, the death certificate will state never married, despite the couple being married for many years according to Islamic law. How can the government not recognize Muslim marriages, but make reasonable accommodation for same-sex marriages, civil unions, other cultural marriages, but not the nikah of Muslims? Yet Muslims have been in South Africa for more than 400 years. So we say good luck to Muslim women, marital justice for all. The second point is parental education and parenting are the basic foundations for the formation of an individual character and a key factor towards the individual's success and happiness. The role of a father consists of 6 dimensions: leader, protector, economic provider, friend, playmate, and educator. In South Africa, we find that 1 father out of 2 is absent from the child's life. This survey reveals that about 54% of men aged 15 to 49 are fathers, but almost 50% of them do not have contact with their children daily. My late father-in-law, Chief Albert Lutuli, would be very disturbed with fathers who are absent in the lives of their children. He was not shy to demonstrate his love for his wife Nokanya Pengu, and their 7 children. He showed confidence in his wife, who proofread his speeches, and her ability to keep the home fires burning while he was a political activist and in and out of prison. When he was at home, the family would gather around the tiny dining every night. Yes.
Your time is up.
Oh, I was going to talk about maintenance as well. May I just say
next time?
All right. All hail to Charlotte. Good afternoon.
Oh. Thank you very much, Mama. I'm now going to call our last speaker on the list, who is the member of the lady. Mama, your time.
Honorable Chair, she's on visual.
Honorable Naledi. Okay.
Yes, Chair, I'm here.
Yes. You may continue, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. As I greet you as well, Honorable Chairperson of the session, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Honorable Pemima Jadina, Honorable Deputy Ministers present today and Deputy Ministers, all Honorable Members of Parliament present today, fellow women who are participants of this Women's Parliament, and all those watching on different platforms. I greet you all in the name of all our foreign heroines and heroes who have sacrificed their lives so that we could enjoy the freedoms we enjoy today. Our fallen heroines, which include women who have survived gender-based violence and those who have not, they shall never be forgotten. Our struggle stalwarts, those who are alive and those who have parted, for these are all heroines who have allowed us to enjoy the freedoms we do enjoy today. This Women's Parliament, with women across race and class positions, is something we could never have imagined under the vicious apartheid and colonial regimes. We meet today under the theme, the Year of Charlotte Maxeke, Advancing Gender Equality through Inclusive Economic Growth and the Precepts of a Capable Developmental State. As we have convened to assess the progress and strides made in the respect of the status of women in this country, what is clear from today's sitting is that we need to reimagine new strategies to combat the total onslaught against us by the current economic climate, which assists in breeding patriarchy and which ultimately births toxic masculinity. It is befitting that this is the year of Charlotte Maxeke, a woman of strength and virtue. There is much we can learn from her about her unapologetic stance in dismantling patriarchal relations of power. As the ANC, we take many lessons from the life of Charlotte Maxeke, who stopped at nothing to liberate women. Ms. Charlotte Maxeke reminds me of the historic role played by the women warriors of Benin, known as the Amazons of Dahomey. These fearless women took it to the battle line and fought against colonialism in all its manifestations. They played a crucial role to build a nation and defended its sovereignty at all costs. As we honor the Amazons of Dahomey and remember all our women warriors, let me take this opportunity to honor women from all aspects of life, including all women who are mostly marginalized because of their sexuality and class positions. These women include domestic workers, nannies, street vendors, sex workers, and members of the LGBTIQA+ community. We live in a country that prides itself of having great legislation, but the lived realities of queer people is a nightmare. The recent spike in hate crimes in South Africa must be condemned. Those who commit such horrendous crimes must be punished to the full might of the law. These actions are reversing the gains of our democracy and the work queer activists have done to get to where we are today. As we speak to the total liberation of women, we need to strengthen international solidarity on queer rights. These are gross human rights violations that are happening against queer bodies, and they are currently and literally under attack merely because of their existence. We as activists holding positions in where we have the power to make change must be consistent in upholding human rights and emphasize that queer rights are human rights. We commend the Department of Women, Children, and Persons with Disabilities for consistently facilitating inclusivity in the department's approach. More still needs to be done. Gender equality is not just about women only. Queer rights are also centered around hate crimes and hate speech. And as the ANC, we understand that this perception that queer rights are not human rights needs to change. When we speak, we must continue to speak against the injustices, discrimination, and intolerance. The ANC is of the understanding that queer rights are human rights, and all policies of the ANC will always be inclusive in their approach. What is clear is that in order to defeat patriarchy, we ought to fully understand it so as to employ the proper strategies to dismantle it in its totality. Each woman sitting here today and those who are watching from different places in our country all have a role to play in dismantling patriarchy. What is also clear from today's sitting is that women's liberation can only be achieved through a radical restructuring of the current economy in which women's labor is largely uncompensated. This is not only limited to the workplace, but in the home where women's gendered duties are uncompensated and they are deemed as work that they are supposed to be doing. It appears that in the current economic system, the value in the existence of women is only as far as they are to service the entire society. But for the most part, women are exploited on their labor and it is not duly compensated. This does not only happen in the workplace, but in the home and in the community as well. Proof of the undervalued existence of women is clearly illustrated in gender pay gaps and the manner in which men rape, kill, beat, and emotional abuse and murder women on a daily basis. The statistics speak for themselves. The root of this behavior can be found in the definition of patriarchy, which is a system that exists where men hold the primary power in all roles of political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, and the ultimate control of property. In the current economic system, patriarchy thrives as it gains momentum from the economic system, which sees no value in the labor and existence of women as a whole. Therefore, it is important to understand that this patriarchal system breeds and manifests what we call toxic masculinity. This toxic masculinity is further emphasized in institutions such as the home, the church, and the school. This toxic masculinity is not only harmful to women, but men as well, and it is harmful to the society at large. The categorization of this toxic masculinity is not intended to demonize men, but to highlight the harmful effects of aligning to what is termed traditional masculine behavior, which includes dominance, self-reliance, and competition. This traditional male gender role stigmatizes and limits the emotions that men ought to comfortably display, such as sadness, while evaluating anger, which is perceived as a stronger and more manly emotion. This toxic masculinity breeds men to aspire to be alpha males by ensuring that they dominate economic, political, and social spaces in a very aggressive manner. This includes the act of totally wiping out women from the face of the earth as to acclaim total dominance over everything the society has to offer. Gender-based violence and femicide are a direct result of this, as these regressive male traits serve to foster domination, the devaluation of women, homophobia, and their wanton violence. The entire society, and not only the government, through institutions such as the schooling systems, NGOs, and the like, need to refocus young boys into aspiring to conform to positive masculinity, which is a direct contrast to toxic masculinity. As patriarchy and toxic masculinity manifest, women still face much discrimination in all spheres of life, including the workplace. Gender wage gaps, bullying, and intimidation being the order of their careers. Speaking today on behalf of the ruling party, I too am a woman who has not been immune from any of these occurrences. The ANC with its policies and leagues has always been an agent of change and struggle in society in organizing women and dismantling racist and patriarchal laws. We are inspired by the generation of women of 1956, and in this regard, many policies present in government today are a product of concerted efforts of women's activism. May you all not tire. It is the time for us as the younger generation of women to take up the baton in dismantling patriarchy and toxic masculinity and lead from the front. We cannot speak of the social ills facing women, children, and queer bodies separately, as if we are to totally achieve the total liberation of women in the society. We must take an intersectional approach. We can do this if we all have the understanding that all of our political parties represented in this parliament today are not immune from the influence of patriarchy. All of the strides made by the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons Living with Disabilities, provincial governments, and government entities are applauded and welcomed. Not taking anything away from the work that has been done, the ANC is concerned that year on year, the same lived reality is being reproduced in the respect of the state of women. In closing, Chairperson, today's theme says, the year of Charlotte Maxeke, Manya Maxeke, advancing gender equality through inclusive economic growth and the precepts of a capable developmental state. None of what is envisioned by this theme can be achieved with women in mind if they are all dead. I leave you with a quote from Mama Charlotte Maxeke, directed to all women in this country, particularly those with positions of power, which they can use to advance the cause of women and change the lives of all women in this country. I open quote, "This is not for yourselves. Kill the spirit of self and do not live above your people, but live with them. And if you can rise, bring someone with you." Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Chair, are you still there? I will assist and we shall proceed. I now recognize the Honorable Speaker. Honorable Chair, audible, you are breaking. Just sort out your line. Honorable Kate,
if you can rise, bring someone with you. Thank you very much to all the.
You are now fighting to chair the session.
Honorable Chairperson Bilankulu, are you still back on the line? Or I may call the next speaker, who is Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Honorable Pemima Jodina. Please, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and very good afternoon to all honorable members who are participants in physical attendance as well as on the virtual platform. According to the program, the person that was supposed to make a brief way forward as well as vote of thanks is Honorable Tsenodi Lichisa, the Deputy Speaker. I'm not Honorable Lichisa, I will never be. Thank you very much, Chair. Let me start by appreciating how all the sessions were chaired by Honorable Deputy Chair of the NCOP, Honorable Lucas, Honorable van der Merwe, on behalf of the Multi-Party Women's Caucus, Honorable Bilankulu, and Honorable Lisoma, that was standing in for any eventuality. Thank you very much. To all members who are here in physical attendance, thank you very much for political tolerance. Thank you very much for being yourselves as women. Can you give yourselves a round of applause? Upon our arrival here from 8 o'clock, all women coming from different political parties, they were together because they know that being here, we are here because we have a purpose There is a unity of purpose because gender-based violence knows no political affiliation. And all of us as women, we share same challenges that we come across, be it in our homes, be it in our parties, be it in the environment where we work. Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, Mama Mapisa Ngakula, thank you very much for having welcomed us. We felt very much welcomed as women in this second Women's Parliament in the 6th term. I wish to explain in Tate Madisha that we're not meeting on annual basis. We agreed when we started our 6th term to say you are going to have sectoral parliaments biannual, so as to allow the resolutions that have been taken in one parliament to be implemented and we get progress report. Mama Maite Nkwane Mashaban, she was doing exactly that to take us through on what we agreed upon in 2019. There was no women's parliament in 2020. It was a men's parliament. And I also wish to explain the issue of children, Mama Apostol. There is in the sectoral parliament, we have workers' parliament, children's parliament, men's parliament, women's parliament that get hosted by this parliament. And therefore, it was not a mistake that children were not invited here. There is a children's parliament. We also have a report on that. They raise the very issues that we are raising here. But now this is a women's parliament, and by definition, we are women that are here. And that is why we're able to talk about the girl child, because we also know the challenges of the girl child. We sit in the children's parliament. Honorable members of this house, we are united in diversity. We know that we are standing on the shoulders of very powerful women, women of note, women of substance, women of stature. Imbogodo, Mama Umatleke, Mama Usisulo, Mama Umangoyi, Mama Sophie, Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and many others. We are affected by triple challenges, all of us: unemployment, underdevelopment, and inequality. It is upon ourselves that we take forward some of the issues that were raised here. Thank you very much, Honorable Nglesi, for also sharing the progress with us. However, we'll request all the reports, starting from you, Honorable Nkwane Mashabane, that these women who are in attendance here now and those that are in virtual platforms, they must be able to get the report back that you were tabling in this Women's Parliament, so that we can be able to come closer to that input. Sisithi ke nakuni amaqobokazana ngalale endleleni yazini kunyembelekile. Xa uthinta abafazi uthinta imbokodo basopa uza kufa. Utshwara mme utshwara thipa ka bohaleng. You struck a woman, you struck a rock. Sithi ke kuni makhosikazi. The theme was not mainly on the gender-based violence and femicide, but the fact of the issue is that it affects us on daily basis. Abana noba kushunyayelwa ngawe ecaweni, kodwa bakushunyayela ngento ekutyayo uzawuthi amen, hallelujah, boots of no boots, sentshilo ndathi amen. Ume pha uzikhulule nezo boots noba bakuthiwa ungamkwazi amen, because you feel you are part of this thing every day. And ayonto yethu le, we don't abuse ourselves. We don't kill ourselves. The first thing ebuzwayo ubevelaphi? Where was she coming from? What did she do? Why kufuneka sibuzo le mibuzo? What was she wearing? Indaba kabani leyo? That does not expose us ekubeni masibe victims. You are a victim at the time you are under that attack. But I like Umama Apostle Goltala, who said, I'm a survivor. The minute perpetrator, yohlukana nawe, you are a survivor. Phambili nge-survivors, phambili. Be strong, Zimbogoto. Be strong, Bomama. We don't owe anyone any explanation. We don't happen to be women. We are, of course, women. We're created out of the image of God. God had a reason to create us, and not to create us first like Adam, to create us last, creating the masterpiece, the real person, ourselves. And we must appreciate ourselves. We have given this country a lot. This country is looking upon us. We in terms of the percentage, a percentage phezulu population of the country, oh mama. We are CEOs, we are managers, we are nurses, we are doctors. Ikufanele that how fihla taba ya COVID-19 ibe lona bafumana COVID-19 pili, because when you see a sick person, you forgot about yourself. You go there without a mask, you go there unsanitized, because you want to rescue umuntu ombone egula endlini. Because bonke they are looking upon you. Uba ungenelele. Bo mama, no one is supposed to do us a favor for inclusion on the economic growth of this country. We demand economic empowerment, we demand it. There's no one on a capacity more than ourselves as women. Even 100 rand on a Sunday, you deliver 7 colors meal, 100 rand, because you multiply. This economic emancipation as we negotiate, we've taken resolutions, and we're saying now it is a time to implement those resolutions. Gender-based violence and femicide is a societal matter. Thank you to otata abambalwa abangenileyo, Kosisba, and abanyotata bayabaxoxa ntate Matisha. This is not our matter. Asinamane sizililela apha. Asizidlwenguli. Dlwengula nini? Imizimba yethu ayihlonitshwa ngotata. It is high time. Somebody said here, otata, they must go to the streets. Yes, muyumvatina namaplakat. Ibengabo, because these are your mothers, these are your grandmothers, these are your daughters. Ngabachana benu aba. Kutheni ufuneka silwe udabi lethu lodwa. Silwa sodwa. Silwa ngabantu abasibukeleyo. Ithi le Women's Parliament today. Masi implement resolutions. When we mandibulele as well, all the provincial leaders who are representing their premiers, and a message to all the premiers: can you treat Women's Parliament like the State of the Nation address where you all come? How premiers come to Isona, they must come golo hlobo apha. This is a very serious issue. Xa ku-abuswa omnozala, abanigcine for 9 months, bani transporter free, nathi arrive alive. Savomita, sadunjelwa zinyawo. Sinesinye into ngaphakathi. But loo nto ngaphakathi xa iphuma is abuse. How dare. I know you wanted a Minister of Justice, you wanted a Minister of Police, you wanted a Minister of Education, as well as a Minister of Social Development. They were not scheduled to be in this Women's Parliament. We wanted the economic cluster, hence Mogukona Otatunglesi Apa. However, nothing is lost, comrades and members, honorable members. Nothing is lost. We're here as women through the multi-party women's caucus that is chaired by Mama Upilangulu. While senza imithetho, funeka siyilandele uba le mithetho ihamba implement iphele phina. Part of the NSP, it says 32 regional courts in the country have been designated to be sexual offences court. That is the development as per our 2019 Women's Parliament resolution. Yeah, update ke ngoku 32. We called for sexual offences court. Sisithi asinawukwazi to go and queue phaya. And i-sexual offences court inendlela ethile in a particular way on how to get evidence. So there are 32 regional courts that have been designated for these purposes. Each and every police station. This is our task ke ngoku, to go and validate this information. Each and every in a police station, according to in progress, supposed to have a sexual assault kit where you are going to be checked immediately so that the evidence in each and every police station. As 14 political parties present here, it is our duty that we go and knock in each and every police station to check whether this sexual assault kit ikhona na. Let's not wait kude kube khona i-victim. It is our responsibility. It is also reported that there are shelters. The government has released a property yakhe into yoba ibe zi-shelters, safety shelters. Shelters where umama engazubuzwa ubuvelaphi, umama okanye umntwana, whoever who's a survivor, is going to be embraced in that shelter upon arrival. But we are saying, we have been sent from shelter to another shelter. The perpetrator must be out of the house. Shelter. Why must we send out, Tina? The perpetrator magahambe yena ayofunela shelter somewhere, not us. Because ngoku ufuneka ushiya abantwana, ushiya ikhaya, uhamba uncumutheka ku-shelter. Uthe omnye umama bethetha ku-virtual platform, let's be abomama umaxeke. Let's multiply umama umaxeke and stand up as women, stand up for our rights as women. We further want to agree with our recommendation up. If this national parliament is sitting by annual, what is happening in local municipality, women's parliament, because some of the issues that you are raising here, they're supposed to be responded at that level. Cooperative governance means that where local municipality, women's parliament, district municipality. Emva district municipality, provincial women's caucus. Before spaces are up. Kwenzela into yoba siklerishe issues phaya kweza levels, because now you're keen people from the Eastern Cape asking Honorable Nkomonye, yenzekaphi lento, magu create platforms, the provincial women's caucus parliament, where we can be able to zoom in very close and deal with our provincial matters that are affecting us as women. Ladies and gentlemen, kudala nilapha. Mna bendingazangothetha ngokuthiwa mandenze nje i-message eyokuthi ndinibulele kakhulu, to thank you very much and say the society mayime ngenyawo. Society must stand up and say no to gender-based violence. It cannot be that tiny voice of women alone. You came all the way since morning. You have been here, IT staff. Thank you very much, the table staff from Parliament. Thank you very much for being here. Oh mama, bahle. Oh mama, bavintlungu. Iyasika inimba, because it's ngonozala. We're not only fighting for ourselves, but we're also fighting for a girl child. We're fighting for abantwana bethu to be free from all chains, the gender-based violence, as well as from poverty. Abantu bokuqala bazi poverty is us. We don't, as women, we don't research about poverty. We are products of poverty and starvation, and therefore we must be united. Malibongwe!
Igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe.
Alibongwe. Alibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi.
Thank you very much.
Outstanding disputes, and that we stand ready should a window
Malibongwe. Malibongwe.
Forward, Women Caucus, forward. Women Caucus, forward.
Jovito.
Uzogu finish.
Order, members. Honorable. Members, invited guests, the House stands up. Thank you.
Thank you.